Hello, and welcome to Automate Office Work. I'm your host, Justin. Today's episode is a bonus episode. In addition to the regular episodes that go out on most Fridays, today is a special episode called Donation Requests, a complex automation example. If you'd like to follow along with this content with a written article, you can find that article at automateofficework.com/donation requests. It will be the base of the content that I give today, so you can follow along, or you can just listen if you would rather just have the audio only experience, or you can also follow along as I show the tool in action that I am describing. Okay, you'll be able to find this on Apple Podcasts in audio only, as well as on YouTube as a recorded video. This article takes you through a very complex workflow, donation requests. It's meant to get your imagination going about the kinds of things you can do to improve your work. I've chosen a very common scenario so that anyone can follow along, but think about your own scenarios and apply these principles to your own work. The scenario. Many companies get asked to make donations. Perhaps it's to support the local sports team of an employee's child, or a local homeless shelter, or to sponsor someone who is running a marathon for charity. Whatever the charity, getting all the data and approvals in place can be a struggle. How does your company currently approach this scenario? Perhaps an employee approaches finance to ask them to make a payment. Finance checks their own documents and sees that compliance has a procedure in place. Checks need to be made about the validity of the charity, their tax ID, etc. Certain people in the company need to sign off for the payment, and documentation is then presented to finance to show that finance can go ahead and make the payment. But how do we actually go through the procedure? In many companies, compliance tracks these in a spreadsheet and emails. Lots and lots of emails, perhaps even months of emails. The small amounts of money often don't justify spending so much time on these payments. So let's automate the process. First, we'll want the homepage of our interface to look like a spreadsheet. A row for each donation request, and some columns of important data. And I'll go ahead and bring my article off to another screen and show you the tool. So this is the homepage. It is located on a SharePoint. It is located on a SharePoint page. It is at automateofficework.sharepoint.com/sites/test/site pages/donation requests.aspx. The user sees a very nice, beautiful home screen. There is a button for a new request. There is at the main part of the page, it shows an Excel spreadsheet. There is a line for each donation request and columns for basic data like the unique ID, identifying this request, the name of the requester, the organization that is requesting the donation, the dates when the request was created and last modified, status of the request, the amount of the request, and the location of the organization. Okay, in addition to that, there is a nice toolbar to filter all of these results. We can filter and show just certain ones with certain values. Also, depending on the role of the person coming to this homepage, you'll see different requests. If I'm just a regular requester, I cannot see requests made by other requesters. I can only see requests that I have made myself. If I am on the list of compliance people, then by all means, I can see all requests. Okay, and additionally, there's a button that downloads a spreadsheet of the visible data. It downloads it as an Excel spreadsheet that I can then go and do whatever I want to do with this data. Okay, I'm going to click on the new request button. It brings me to the request page. And there are no details yet, so this is a new request. We are going to see this request page a lot. As we go through the steps, the data will be filled in and managed and tracked, and we will be able to go to the next step to fill in even more data. At the very top of this request page, there's a box with simple instructions, letting the requester know the basic steps who they can reach out to, how we're going to do this. Below that is a basic life cycle. It shows the 6 steps that the request is going to go through. Step 1 is inputs from requester, and this step is highlighted in orange to let the requester know that we are on the very first step. When we get to step 2 is inputs from the organization. Step 3 is review by the requester. Step 4 is review by compliance. Step 5 is approvals. And finally, step 6 is complete. Below that, we have some basic request details like the unique ID, which we do not have this yet because this request has not been saved yet. Once it is saved, a unique ID will be generated and shown here. We can see the email address of the logged in person, and they are noted as the requester. We see the status is awaiting inputs from requester, and we can see the location for this request. And we do have a drop-down menu with all the different locations where my company exists and which can be selected from. I'm going to choose DISO Italy. Okay. Below that, step 1 is inputs from requester. So we need some basic things. We need for the requester to upload some kind of a documentation, perhaps a letter of request that they received from the potential recipient. I'm just going to upload just a basic image, but you can imagine that this is some kind of other file type, whatever file you want. And then we have a series of yes/no questions that are basically that compliance is going to need to know to make sure that this is a legitimate payment going as a donation. Next, we have the amount requested. We can choose between US dollars and euros. I'm going to choose euros and type in 100. Who is your local finance business partner? I'm going to type in my own email address. Well, I'm going to grab it, paste it into there. But this is going to be somebody who is in your Outlook address book. And the tool is able to check that the email account actually does exist. Has your local finance business partner been made aware of this donation request? And I can say yes. And any additional details, we have a text area that I can type in. Below that, I can upload any additional files that I want to. So these are optional things, anything that I think is relevant going forward. Okay, so step 1, I got all my data points put in. Now we're going to be going to step 2, where we're going to be getting inputs from the organization. And so in that step 2, it's expanded, and I see the form that the organization will have to fill in. Now, it might be that the requester knows a lot of these details. And actually, we need a couple of the details, like the name of the requesting organization. I'm going to put test org. So that's the name. I don't know their unique tax ID, their W-9 or their VAT. I know the name of a person that I'm going to do contact with, but I only know his first name. I think his name is John. And his position, I'm not sure, but I think he's the president. And the last thing that's necessary is an email address because this request is going to be sent by email. So I'm going to do Justin Turman at gmail.com. And the only thing required about this email address is that it can't be the same domain as my company's domain. You know, we want these organizations to be legitimate organizations, not just like, oh, the employee thinks they want free money and ask them details about their organization. Like, no, we need it to be an actual organization. So it has to be a different domain. Okay, things like the address, phone number, website, the tax details. I don't know these. So it'll have to be filled in by the organization. Okay. Below that, I have a set of actions that I can take. I can save this draft, which I can then come back later and fill in more and submit when I'm comfortable. The other option is to send to organization for additional details and corrections. The other option is send to compliance for review. I'm certain I have all the details correct. So it might be that I don't need to send this to the organization. They've already contacted me and given me all these details by email or phone or whatever. So I could skip them and go directly to the compliance step. But I don't know, so I'm going to send it to the organization. I also always have a link here, cancel request. A request can always be cancelable at some point. You know, things come up, things change, and we might say, you know, we're not going to go forward at all. So there's always this action. We can cancel the request. Below that, we have these section headers for steps 3, 4, and 5. We are not to those steps yet, so they are not expanded, but the requester can see that there will be additional things that will expand at additional steps. Okay, so I'm going to send to organization for additional details and corrections. It saves all this data and all the files on SharePoint, and I get a pop-up. It says sent for organization review. I click on OK, and it refreshes the page. Now I see that we're at step 2, inputs from organization, and I've got a red warning box. It says form sent to organization for review. And all of the data and data points are locked down, read only, and that's because it's the organization's turn to make any changes. We don't want to be making changes at the same time the organization is doing that. We don't want conflicts in data, so we have to wait our turn. We can go down to the bottom and look at the available actions. There is a button to send back. So maybe we do want to revoke the ability of the organization and we want to send it back to us. Maybe I do have all those data points by email, so they don't need to actually fill out the web page. Maybe I can send this back to myself, fill in all the details, and then send it directly to compliance. Okay, there's always that option. Okay, so I'm going to go to my Gmail, and I should have received an email. Okay, it says AOW donation request form. This email is to me at my Gmail account, and it is from the company. It says a new AOW donation request form has been initiated for your organization by, and then the employee's email address. Please visit this URL with a unique ID attached at the end of the URL to review this request. Okay, so this email is also copied to the original requester. So let's imagine I'm in an organization and I just got this email out of the blue. My first thought is this might be spam. It might be a phishing attempt, but I can also see that that my contact person who I've been talking with is copied on here. And maybe I reach out to them and ask, is this a real email from you? And they also received the email when they submitted it. They know that this is legitimate. They give me assurance and they say, yes, click on the link. It's fine. It goes to automateofficework.com/tools/donation requests, $ID equals, and then a short, a unique ID, kind of a string of letters and numbers. Okay, I'm going to click on the link. It opens up that web page. Okay. It says, please enter the code that has just been emailed to justinturman@gmail.com. It's got a space for a code, and it's got a button to submit the code. We do this to authenticate the user. This is a very easy way that you can know for sure that the person has not just the URL, but they also have access to the email account that was receiving emails. So even if I was to forward this, say, to a secretary and ask them to fill it out and go to the URL, they would not have access to get this 4-digit code. It just gives us some extra security that we are receiving data in the company. We want to make sure that we're not getting malicious kind of data from hackers. So we are only getting people who are being invited to our system. We know who they are. We are tracking them. We are making sure that they are who they say they are. Okay, so I'm going to come back here, refresh, get my code. The code is 4224. Okay, so I put in 4224, submit the code. And now I am presented with all kinds of data about the request. I can see the contact person. I can see the amount requested and the currency. It is grayed out because I, as the organization, cannot change the amount that was requested, but I can see the amount. I can see the date that it was sent, and I can see the email address that it was sent to. It was sent to myself. We have some instructions in a blue box. It says, please correct or add any missing information below and attach supporting files along with any comments that would help us to process your donation request. Reach out to, and then the email address of the requester, Justin at automateofficework.onmicrosoft.com, with any questions. And below that, I see the donation request form that was filled in earlier by the requester. It has the exact same data points that they provided. So I can update them, correct them, and then I need to fill in all of the missing information, like the unique ID for tax. Just put in a random number. Maybe my organization isn't just test org, but it's test org, I don't know, international. Maybe maybe I want to put in my full name, John Smith. And my title, maybe I'm not the president. Maybe I am CEO, let's say. Okay, so now I need an address. 123 Main Street. Okay, and let's pretend that I'm just getting tired of putting all these things in. I just want to submit. So I'm going to click on submit, and we'll see what kind of errors we get. It says city cannot be blank, state cannot be blank, postal code cannot be blank. All this stuff cannot be blank. I'm going to click on OK, and I get a red border around everything that I still need to do. So city is going to be Fairview. State is California. And zip code is random digits. The country, I do have a drop down with lots of countries. Phone number, and I'm going to leave it at United States. Phone number, just some random digits. Website is going to be site.com. Is organization a registered charitable / not-for-profit organization? Yes. If yes, provide your tax exempt certification number and attach a copy. I'm going to pretend that I don't see those, so we'll see what kind of error I get later. I'm going to change my organization's annual operating budget, say between 10 and 50,000. A name of the event, we're going to put fundraiser. The start date, it says here, allow 6 weeks for review, and the date, the request must be prior to the event. So I'm going to go out a couple months, pick a date, put that. Is this a regularly occurring event / program? Yes or no. I'm going to leave it at no. And a brief description of the event or project. I'm going to say stuff. I can also upload any kind of supporting file I want to upload. I'm just going to upload an image. And when I click on submit, see what kind of errors we get. It says tax exempt certification number cannot be blank. A copy of the government tax exempt certification must be uploaded. I click on OK, and I see those two things have red borders around them. Okay, so my tax ID code, random number, file. I'm going to take a random file. Okay, so now I should be able to submit. And it's checking to make sure I filled in everything. It's uploading all the files. It's updating all the data on SharePoint. And it now tells me your form has been submitted. We will review your donation request. Please reach out to Justin at automateofficework.onmicrosoft.com if you have any questions. Okay. If I refresh this page, I get a warning. It says form already submitted under this donation request. Contact the requester. It gives the email address that I'm tired of saying because it's so long. With any questions. Okay, so they cannot submit this multiple times, only once. Okay, so now the requester receives an email notifying them that they have a donation request to review. Okay, if Outlook will open this. All right, so I'm the employee now, and I just received an email, donation request submitted by organization, ready for your review at, and it gives the same URL that we've been at for the last few minutes. So I already have that open, actually, and I can go to the top. It says form sent to organization for review. If I refresh this, it'll now be at step 3. We're now at step 3, review by requester. I can now review everything that I've done before. I can make changes, and don't worry because we're keeping track of the history of these changes, which I'll show you in the future as well. Okay, we can see the history of that. I can see all the data that was put in by the organization, any files that they uploaded. And now I have step 3 has expanded for review by requester. There's a text area box. It says optional note to compliance. I can put any note to them. I'm just going to say hi, which it is optional. I can save this draft, or I can send it to compliance for review, or I can cancel the whole request. I'm going to send to compliance for review. It says sent for compliance review. My list of compliance people all receive an email notifying them that they have some review to do. The page has refreshed, and we are now on step 4, review by compliance. Compliance can now review all of the data points. There's also a history link that is next to each of these forms 1 and 2, so that they can see not just the data how it is now, but they can compare, like what did the requester initially put, and then what did the organization put, and then what did the requester change. So there's like 3 different times that we can have changes in the information, and the compliance person can review that. Okay, maybe I'll do that now. I'll click on history, and it opens up a page with a drop-down menu. And the drop-down menu you can select from either of these 2 forms at any of the stages, and I can see the exact, so there's a snapshot of the data at that time. Okay, I'm going to come all the way down. My compliance step 4 is now expanded. I have some questions. I should say yes, no, no to these compliance things, any optional notes. And I can save a draft, I can send it out for approvals, or I can send it back to a previous stage. If I send it back to the previous stage, it asks, why does this request need to be sent back to the previous step? It will give this note to the requester. The requester is now in the previous stage, and they can do something and then send it forward to compliance again if we need to. Okay, I'm going to send this out for approvals, and I get an error. You must have at least 1 approver. I click on OK, and now I see I have a box where I can type in an email address. Do I still have my same? Yeah, I can just paste in my email address. Nice. I'm going to click on add, and it adds this person. I can add multiple email addresses, but only 1 is required at a minimum. For my scenario, let's imagine I did ask my compliance department, like, who are all the different possible approvers for all the different scenarios at all these different locations for all these different money amounts and all these different variations. They came back to me and said it is too complex. They did not want it to be coded into this tool. And all of these people change from time to time as well, right? And they said, well, we already have a spreadsheet. We are already working. We have the identification of these people. We don't need to automate or improve that part. They said, just give us a box and let us type in email addresses for as many people as we need to do, and we'll cover it. We know what we're doing. So I said, okay, great. So you just need at least 1 person, and I'm going to send it for approvals. Sent for approvals. I am the person approving. I received an email with the same exact URL, inviting me to come to the URL. The page has refreshed, and you can see I have an instruction box in green. It says, please review and approve or reject below. And all of the data points are here, but now they are grayed out for read only. So as an approver, I can see the history of everything if I want to. I can see all these data points. I come down to the very, very bottom, and now the approvers section, I have a drop-down menu to approve or reject, and I have a box for optional comments. I'm going to type I approve. Below that, I do have a couple of actions. So in this example, like I'm also the compliance person. So the compliance person, let's say if they sent it out for approvals and then they found like a person was on vacation or on maternity leave for an extended period of time. Well, they need to be compliance needs to be able to send this back and redo the set of approvers, right? So they do have a button for that. You can send it back. You can always cancel the request too, just like always. I'm going to click on submit. So I'm approving this. The platform is making sure it's checking if I'm the very last approver. And if I am the very last approver, then the status is changed to the very last stage, stage number 6, which is complete. So now anybody coming to this request, they see all the data points, all the history of everything. You have links to see the history of everything. All this data is nice and beautiful. All the files that were uploaded are here. I can download or open them because they're just files on SharePoint now. And there's everything. Down at the very, very bottom, because I am the compliance person, I still have an action button. I can send this back to the previous approver stage. Maybe I do get some feedback from an approver. An approver says, I'm not the right person, or you need an additional person. So compliance can always go back. But now you see at this stage, all the data is nicely packaged and beautiful. We do have a couple of extra buttons at the top now. One is for download data. If I click on this, you can see the raw data, which it's every piece of data that was ever submitted by anybody in this process. We can do some deep, deep analytics on this, and you can get some reporting out of your work processes. You want to know like how many were in, I don't know, a certain country or a location compared to others. You can make the charts and reports and whatever you want. You can see timestamps on all of these things. So you can track like how long does it take for us to go from one phase to the other, or how long does it take to completely finish these kinds of things. So you can report and you can get the insights. Okay. We have another button here for download PDF, and that's because a PDF was generated. It made a PDF of this entire page. I'm going to click on download PDF, and the point of this is that now you have a separate file, a PDF, which you can take and you can give to finance, because in our scenario, we need to get documentation to finance. Finance probably has their own system where they need to upload the paper trail. And so here is the paper trail. You can easily give this to finance. Finance then has all of the data points. If they want to see the actual files that are in this PDF, every file has a link and it will just open the file or download it from SharePoint. Also, the unique ID of this request, finance can click on and it takes you to the system. So they can see this PDF. They can also go to the system and check to make sure that, yes, this data actually exists. So they don't have to just trust the PDF, I guess is what I'm saying. But everything is linked together. Everything is nice. There's no more spreadsheets. There's no more emails. There's no more chasing people. If you did, you could have automated emails worked into here as well, so that maybe if a person doesn't respond in a day or a week, you can set up those automated emails that will do the chasing of the people. All right, so I think we are at the very end of the article that I was supposedly basing this content on. Yeah, so conclusion. What would you give to have all your work organized like this? Would you be willing to map out all the steps and all the possible actions people can take at each step? Well, it is possible, and you can do it. My name is Justin. I'm an ex-corporate lawyer. I automated all the different processes similar to this one. I know how to do this and I can help your organization. You can reach me at my website, automateofficework.com. I am available for consulting. I can provide solutions, or I can help with the education of your team so that you can go to the next level and work better. I have all kinds of resources on my website. Feel free to book a call with me. You can also reach me at my email address, justin@automateofficework.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I am Justin Turman, Turman. I am an ex-corporate lawyer, currently based in Amsterdam, Netherlands, where I've been the last few years. And I have all kinds of resources, including a website that's free with all kinds of resources. I have a section on my website where you can learn how to do these things that I'm doing. You can learn how to code. And I have a free book, Thinking Like a Programmer. And also, I have all kinds of articles that I am putting out all the time, which will include today's article very shortly. And you can sign up for the newsletter and you can get an email letting you know the last week's content that has been put out. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoy this and get a lot of benefit from this. Again, think about not just this specific scenario, but think about your own scenario. How can you apply these principles and just take your work to the next level? Stop working manually, work in an organized way with intent, and make the work really flow so that everybody is working better and working together. Um, Yeah. My name is Justin. I'll be doing a regular podcast uh, episode. Today's was a bonus. I do my regular podcasts on most Fridays. And you can usually find me on LinkedIn. Those regular podcasts are a live event on LinkedIn, so you can come on as an audience member and submit comments live as we're doing the show. And you can even come on and have a chat with me if you would like to as well. All right. My name is Justin, and happy automating.